You go into a dealership, fall in love with a brand new vehicle, sign on the dotted line, and drive off with that new car smell stuck to your clothes. Life is good, until a few months later, boom, the manufacturer is gone. The badge on your hood now belongs to a brand that just went out of business. How does that even happen? Why do certain car brands go out with a whimper and others go out swinging with a final wild offering? And what was the last car they produced? This is not a countdown. These are some final cars before the brands died. Some of these final cars were forgotten treasures, others total flops. What's more disappointing than an old brand disappearing into the shadows, vanishing with a car as unmemorable as the Pontiac G6? And if automakers had a tune for such vanishing cars, the sound of the G6 would be best for it. Pontiac, which once produced the GTO and the Firebird Trans Am, which were the best of the best in their time, ended its journey with the sloppy G6. A mid-sized sedan so basic that it could have been designed by a kid. The G6 was the grand finale, the last to roll off in the legendary Pontiac's lineup before they closed the factory gates for good in 2009. And normally, car brands go out by giving a glorious car, but Pontiac gave us the G6. Though the G6 was basic, it got one final undeserved moment of fame. In 2010, a red G6 was employed as a government fleet vehicle and auctioned off. And guess who bought it? President Barack Obama. The car was sold for over $40,000. Yes, you heard me right, $40,000, which is more than it ever retailed for. Was it a good or a bad investment? Comment your thoughts below. So yeah, Pontiac's swan song might have been boring, but it certainly ended with some presidential pizzazz. Saab was always the oddball genius in the industry. The unique thing that separates Saab from others is its jet-like instrument panels, key fobs next to the gear shift, turbocharged eccentricity. Saab didn't just build cars, they made jets on the road. But by 2012, Saab was struggling. After GM bounced it around like a hot potato and the Chinese company's failed bid to buy it, Saab was done for good. And the final car they produced, the Saab 9.5. Now, this wasn't a terrible car. It was gorgeous in every Swedish aspect. Clean lines, Spartan interior, and of course, Saab's immense aura. It even resembled a spaceship built by IKEA, and under the hood, turbocharged engines, which whispered, "I'm different, and I know it." But Saab's problem was not ever about the cars. It was about the finances. They just couldn't keep the lights on. The last 9.5 went down the line in Sweden, and that was that. The end of an era. Those final 100 9.5s were stranded in the dock, unable to be resold because of the company going under. And for the remaining 9.5s which were sold, they're now locked inside the garages of car collectors. You already know about the DeLorean DMC12. You've seen it with a flux capacitor, 88 miles per hour, and Doc Brown yelling something about 1.21 gigawatts. But what most people forget is that this stainless steel wedge was the only car made by DeLorean ever, and also its last. John DeLorean, the man himself, dreamed of creating an unreal, moral American sports car. And the result? The DMC12 with its signature gull-wing doors, brushed steel panels, and a silhouette that was less coupe, more spaceship. And yet, behind the spaceship skin was a mix of Peugeot, Renault, and Volvo-sourced V6 engines. It began production in 1981 in Northern Ireland. 2 years later, the company went bankrupt and John's dream collapsed in front of his eyes. Some even say the FBI did a raid on him, which led to the company going bankrupt. Nevertheless, the DMC12 didn't go out without a bang. Thanks to Back to the Future, it is the most iconic automobile in history. Even to this date, DeLoreans continue to be restored, modified, and even revived by small businesses. So yes, the DeLorean died, but oddly, it also became immortal. How many failed brands are made into movie legends, right? Now this one, a bit sad. Oldsmobile was the senior American automobile builder. They've been in the industry for 107 years. Wow, now that's what you call a long time. The brand that gave us the Rocket V8, a car that no one could forget. And how did they say farewell? With the Oldsmobile Alero. Yeah, a plain front-wheel drive sedan or coupe that was as mid-2000s as low-rise jeans and LimeWire. By the time the Alero arrived, Oldsmobile was on life support already. GM decided that such a division wasn't practical anymore, so they awarded it a last model. And the car wasn't terrible at all, featured great build quality and good styling, it just didn't cry legacy. But here's the kicker. The very last Oldsmobile produced was a 2004 Alero Final 500 edition, and it featured special badging and a plaque on the dash. That vehicle is parked in the R.E. Olds Transportation Museum in Michigan, kept like a relic from a fallen empire that once dominated the road. You gotta respect the effort. They tried to make that last Alero feel special, but deep down everyone knew it was nothing special. A polite goodbye of a brand that once roared with power. And as for Oldsmobile, it just slowly faded into the dark. Alright, let's discuss Hummer. The company essentially seemed like the power lifter in the car industry with every design choice. They were born out of military Humvees, converted into suburban status symbols. Hummers were large, loud, and a daring car. But then came the recession. Gas prices skyrocketed. Environmental awareness went through the roof. Driving a Hummer suddenly made you resemble less of a boss and more of a cartoon villain. Their last car? The Hummer H3. Compared to its big H1 and H2 siblings, the H3 was, let's say, more practical. It was built on the same platform as the Chevy Colorado, came with a 5-cylinder engine, and was designed to fit in parking spaces, which was new to Hummers. But even with those reductions, it was too late. The brand had already become a meme, and in 2010, the last H3 came off the line. Just a few years later, guess what happened? Hummer returned from the dead like The Undertaker, but with a twist. This time as an electric GMC Hummer EV. So yes, the H3 was the end, but Hummer had no plans to stop and had a new trick up its sleeve: EVs. Rover. Just saying the name has the scent of old coats, afternoon tea, and perhaps a warm Sunday outing into the countryside. Rover once used to be the pride of British motoring, making sleek sedans and dignified tourers. But by the early 2000s, the company had changed from a classy vehicle to a cautionary tale. The Rover 75 was the vehicle that was meant to save the brand from the brink. And to be fair, it might have. Introduced in 1998, the 75 was a good-looking car. It had a retro-futuristic look, the chrome accents, and a wood-trimmed interior that resembled a cigar bar on wheels. Proper old-fashioned car. Underneath, you had BMW engineering. Yep, when BMW owned Rover in the 90s, they threw serious money at the 75's development to bring back the company. So it wasn't just for the sake of it. It was filled with tech, sophisticated, and handled surprisingly well for a car that looked like it was featured in an Agatha Christie novel. But here's the irony. While the 75 was being launched at the 1998 British Motor Show, BMW chairman Peter Wittig openly doubted the survival of Rover in public, in front of the media. Talk about poor timing. That speech marked the start of the end. By 2005, the company was done for good. Nothing more to do to save it, and Rover went out of business. The final Rover 75s were sent rolling off the Longbridge production line straight into history. Some were even abandoned on factory yards as the gates shut. It's tragic. The 75 wasn't a bad car. It was possibly one of Rover's best. But even the best car can't save a brand drowning in debt. Let's wrap up with the Saturn, the craziest, most misconstrued GM brand ever. Saturn was born in the 80s as an imported fighter to take down the others. They had dent-resistant plastic body panels, no fancy prices, and dealerships that were more like Apple stores than car lots. People loved them, and for a time, Saturn worked. But as the years went by, GM kind of forgot what made Saturn unique. By the time we hit the Saturn Aura in 2010, the brand had lost its soul. The Aura was a nice mid-size sedan with comfortable, clean styling and shared platforms with Opel, but it wasn't weird. It wasn't bold. It just wasn't Saturn. The drama? Saturn nearly got saved. In 2009, Penske Automotive attempted to purchase the brand. They intended to keep it alive with Renault Samsung of South Korea's cars. It might have worked, but the deal didn't go through, and poof, Saturn was no more. The Aura then was Saturn's way of saying farewell, a car that said goodbye. Nowadays, most don't even remember it. And that's it for today, guys. Now, if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and also comment down below which of these cars would you consider to be the best. And while you're at it, make sure to watch our previous videos about 80s car chases, which were crazy.